Welcome back to the Cricket Matters podcast. Today we're talking about the ideal weight and height for cricketers. I was about an inch taller than this morning before I got my hair cut. So would I be the ideal height and weight for cricketers, James, or am I a little bit short?
If hobbits played cricket, you'd be perfect.
I just need to move to Hobbiton, and then I would be exactly ideal.
Exactly.
So obviously, all jokes aside, is there an ideal weight and height for cricketers? And if so, what difference does it make if you are a little... Because obviously there's nothing you can do about your height. You are as tall as you are tall, obviously. But in terms of like body composition matters, correct?
Yes, everything matters. And I think it's what we're looking at now is... This is quite a controversial subject, I think. I think it's a fair way to put it, because people are going to argue to their black and blue about whatever means or methods or thoughts they have around this. However, unfortunately, you can't hide from data, and we've been looking at data for over 20 years from a variety of different sports, I think is the best way to put it. And this data doesn't exist in cricket from what I'm seeing. And I'm sure there's some extremely clever boffins out there who are looking at things, but they haven't made it available to the world yet. But this is what we're going to share what we're seeing.
I'm sure at the top end of the game they must be looking at this kind of thing, surely.
They have to, and it's already seen. You see it in China quite a lot, where they're pinpointing athletes from a very young age based on their genetics, whether their height, what their height is, their parents' height, what sports they're going to go to. Now, if you're from Hobbitville, like you are, Josh, right? 5 foot if you're lucky. Is that right? Are you 5 foot?
I'm bloody taller than 5 foot. Give me a break. 5'5". I'm huge.
There you go. 5'5". So
I'm probably not built for cricket, right?
So let's take Henry as an example, right? Your kid. He wants to play cricket coming up here now. He's 5'5". Liz is around roughly the same height too. Now, is Henry likely to be a fast bowler? Probably not, because of his height. We know elite fast bowlers tend to be well over 6 foot tall these days, because it gets more bounce on the wicket. It comes at different angles. That's what elite cricketers are. So if he's aspiring to be an elite professional cricketer, behind the scenes as a parent, we can look at, well, maybe we should not totally discourage him from being a fast bowler, but it will be more difficult for him to realise his dreams if he goes down that route. You with me? So in terms of height, we have some data. So here we go here now. So, right, the average height of a male fast bowler is 186 centimetres. That's from a real study that's been done. So we know that 186 centimetres, which is 6'1", I believe, 6'2".
21 centimetres taller than me. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
I'm just going to miss out on that elite status, I think.
Yep, 12 centimetres taller than me. So we have that. So in terms of that example as a cricketer, we know, okay, if you're from a family of giants, though, well, maybe you want to be looking at becoming a fast bowler, because genetics will play a big part of it. So height does play a big factor. And if we look at, now we have written a whole article about this, it's quite popular on the internet, and there's a calculator that helps you find and determine your own perfect height and weight based on it. So you can go to cricketmatters.com, search for ideal height and weight of cricketers, and it'll pop up. It's on the blog post there. But we've got to talk about this in general terms first. So height is something we can't really do much about. It's genetics a lot of the time, and an environment where you grow up potentially. But
are you saying people in the north are shorter? Is that what you're going for? In my environment.
Yep, I'm abusing all the northerners out there. Yeah, all you northern monkeys. That's exactly what I'm saying, right? So please send all hate mail to josh@cricketmatters.com. There you go, done. So, right. So height is an important factor, and what we're seeing is there are stats now. If male elite cricketers are about 184, 185 centimetres tall, then batsmen, from what we're seeing, is around, well, it used to be, check this out, 179 centimetres in 1987, and in 2021 it's grown to 183 centimetres. But if we look at some of the greats of batting in the last, say, 20 years, they all tend to be around the 5'8", 5'9" mark. That's 173, 175 centimetres. And if you go to the all-time great of Sachin Tendulkar, he was much shorter than that. So there are outliers, but we're looking at trends here, I think, in terms of this. So that's what tends to be what the best batsmen are height-wise on average, and that's what the average height of all male fast bowlers. Now, there's not enough data about women. I'm not leaving the women out here, but we just got to bear that in mind. We've got to take similar comparisons to those sorts of studies well for women. And I think when the data comes out more and more with the women's game developing, we'll be able to advise better on that too. So the ideal height, there isn't one. However, you've got to look at the genetics and where you maybe want to be going to at a younger age group, particularly parents, where you're encouraging your kids to go and work with there. And it's always going to be hard because elite sport is elite sport and it's cruel at the top.
Yeah. Well, I remember our good friend Dan John talking about, it's also a product of where you grow up, your environment as well, because if Usain Bolt had been born in the US, he probably would have ended up as a basketball player, potentially, because he was born in Jamaica, they do more sprinting, he ended up as a sprinter. So there's also, as you say, there is the environment factor as well. So that's height, as you say. Obviously, we can't do anything about height. What about weight? Do we have a formula?
Yes, we do. And we have come up with this formula, again, based on a number of studies. Again, there's not enough studies about cricket out there. What we can do is we can look at the world of other professional sports. And I think football or soccer for the Americans listening in, is the one we got to look at the most, because that's been at the professional level longer than a lot of other sports. And a lot of other sports are catching up to the professionalism of that game, at the top end level of that game. Now, we had all the data from all the last World Cups going back 20, 30 years, and it told us all of the height, weight of each player position, all stats you can possibly imagine about, and they had them on there. And there were trends, and we saw patterns with it. It was like it's like that film Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, for anyone who knows that. It's like a board and dashboard, and we started to see the trends in this. I think a lot of elite cricketers can draw a lot from professional football players, because there's a lot of stop-start sprinting. I know it's a game of only 90 minutes for football. Cricket's a longer-term game, but we've got to look at that stop-start development in terms of physical development and what it takes to get to the very top now. Because it's a lot harder to become a professional footballer than a professional cricketer because of sheer numbers and size of volume of people playing the game, right? So, this is what we saw, right, in professional football. We saw that you take your height in centimetres, minus 105 gave you roughly the right weight for your position, okay? And to perform at the highest levels. So that is what elite professional football players at the very highest are. So if I'm 173 centimetres tall, yes, minus 105, that gives me approximately 68 kilos. I need to be weighing if I'm to play professional football at the highest level. Now, a lot of older adults out there are listening to that going, oh my God, there's no way I can get down to that. Well, I'll ask you the question, how many of you are elite performers at that level, right, in professional football? Very few, if any, right? So that's the data that we need to know, that if you want to get to not only have you got to be good of sound of mind, good technical and skill set ability as well, but your body needs to be around that to be able to compete and handle the rigors of professional elite football at the World Cup, right? So it wasn't just at football. We looked at this at multiple track and field sports. Now, there are outliers in rugby and American football and like strongman competitions. We've got to take those into consideration. That's a completely different ballgame altogether. But the general view was most athletes fall within this category. Now, cyclists are a different extreme altogether. If you look at the Tour de France winners for I'd say last 20, 30 years as well, it's got lower and lower and lower. So now the formula to be an elite tour rider, right, to get on the Tour de France is your height in centimetres minus 12 to get in the same level as those guys. Now that's making me 61 kilos, right? Right, I'm 173 centimetres, currently weigh 72 kilos. I need to drop another 11 kilos to get down to that weight to be able to compete physically with those guys, take away skill set and everything else, but that's where they're at to compete at. So, we looked at cricketers, and we believe they're on the same sort of ballpark for cricketers, footballers. Okay, so footballers and cricketers are very similar. So this is what we're seeing, and from just like anecdotal data and seeing weights and heights of other cricketers, this is what we're seeing too. So for a male cricketer, the formula is quite simple. Your height in centimetres minus 105. That gives your ideal performance weight. You with me? your ideal performance weight. If you wanted to compete with the very best at the top of your sport, we believe you should be sitting around there. For women, it's your height in centimetres, we'll get this right, minus 107, right? That's the data we're seeing here based on all the other sports and football and leading to cricket. And I think female cricketers got a long way to go in terms of professionalism, right? Because it's just the start of their career and we're excited to see where it goes to. And I don't think the health, fitness, nutrition is being thought of in the same way as maybe the men's game just quite yet, because the competition isn't quite there in terms of development going forward. But
competition, that the money isn't there either, because obviously a lot of this comes with money behind the sport
exactly,
as well, doesn't it?
But it's going to get there with the advent of the 100, the IPL being on TV for women now. More and more women are going to start playing cricket, and it's going to get highly competitive. And as a result, the fitter, the stronger, faster cricketers will always win, unfortunately. Yes, skill is important. However, if you have two people of equal skill set, the fitter, faster, stronger will always get your place over the other person. So that's why professional football is at the highest level. It's a great skill, like Ronaldo, the old Ronaldo, not the new Ronaldo, right? Look at him playing football. He's 50 odd years old now. He's quite obese. There's no way he can play professional football anymore. But he's still got the skill set, hasn't he? He was running around all the local park footballers I saw the other week. But we've got to bear that in mind. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. It's discussion points. Now, for the amateur club cricketer, what do you want to do? Do you want to be an elite performer, or are you happy at comfort level? Well, if you want to be at comfort level, then it's your height in centimetres minus 100. But that's not elite performance. That's not elite training to what we want to get to. So, yes, it's controversial. I think we're talking about a subject now that needs to go a lot more. There needs to be a lot more research about it. I think from the big boffins of universities, maybe they need to look at this. But when somebody comes to us now and they say, hey, James, Josh, I want to be a professional cricketer. Can you help me get there? We look at three things. We are going to look at the technical side of things in your coaching. We're going to look at the physical side of things, and how you can help you get there. And we're going to look at the mental side of things. Right? Those are the three elements of our coaching mantra. But we always look at the first thing first, the physical. Where are you at right now? Okay, your height in centimetres minus 105. Are you close to that yet? No. Well, there's a big part of your training needs to be around fitness and performance because you're not there yet, right?
You might need to go on a fat loss program initially. That might be the very first thing you do, potentially.
A lot of people do. And we know that fat loss and lower body fat percentages lead to lower injury rates, high performance, faster athletes, right? And they recover faster. That's the discussion here. And that's why we're talking about these things here now. So yes, we can't do anything about height, but we can do a little bit about weight, right? In terms of management and how we deal with it, and in terms of training, nutrition, and how you approach it. And that's why we do nutrition coaching, as well as the training side of things, as well as the cricket coaching.
There we go. That is the ideal weight and height for cricketers. I don't know if it's controversial. I think it's getting backed up by more and more data, James. The data is out there. We've looked at it, and this is what it suggests. As you say, unfortunately, like for me, can't do anything about your height unless we invent some sort of rack to humanely stretch you on. But I don't think that's that's going to happen. But obviously, we can look at weight and body composition, which are really important, I would say. Thank you, James. That is it for today. But don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you would like our free training plan, then go to cricketmatters.com/train.